On January 7, 1943, a maid working at the New Yorker hotel entered room 3327, where one of the regular tenants lived, and discovered the body of an 86-year-old man who had died alone in the room where he had lived for the last 9 years of his life. The man, known as Nikola Tesla, had been living on a diet of milk and crackers, using the few resources he had left to feed and care for the resident pigeons. It's hard to believe that he was one of the greatest minds of our time. His genius shaped the world as we know it today by creating alternating current, the electrical system that powers our homes around the world. His influence is everywhere, from remote controls and radios to wireless communications. His work and creation were the result of his passion for science, and he invested all the money he earned into projects aimed at the betterment of humanity, rather than self-interest and profit. Tesla was born on July 10, 1856 in modern-day Croatia. His mother came from a family of inventors and had an incredible memory, being able to memorize entire Serbian epic poems, so she taught her son exercises and memorization. Over time, Tesla was known to have an eidetic memory, later speaking 8 different languages, which he attributed to his mother. At the age of 5, Tesla witnessed the death of his older brother in a horseback riding accident, a memory that would stay with him for the rest of his life. Flashes of light and images that made it difficult to separate reality from imagination. He claimed that his inventions came to him in these flashes of light, and he would mentally conceptualize their entire design and adjust them without ever putting pen to paper. In a 1919 interview, he described this process as follows: "I am in no hurry to draw conclusions. The real work, when I have an idea, I immediately begin to embody it in my imagination. I change the design, make improvements, and mentally operate the device. For me, it is absolutely immaterial. As for me, whether I run my turbine in my mind or test it in the workshop, my device invariably works as I conceived it, and the experiment turns out exactly as I planned it. There has not been a single exception in 20 years. Tesla excelled in the educational system, but eventually dropped out of university due to illness, gambling addiction, and other personal problems. Inspired by the electrical demonstrations of his physics professor, Tesla took a job in 1882 with the Paris branch of the Continental Edison Company, installing interior lighting around his home. City officials soon realized that his talents were being wasted in such work and put him to work designing and improving dynamos and motors. He was so astute in his innovations that the company soon sent him traveling around Europe troubleshooting other Edison installations. In 1884, at the age of 28, Tesla's manager offered him a job with the Tesla Company. The Edison Machine Works in New York accepted the offer, and he soon moved to America, where he spent most of his life, becoming a naturalized citizen 7 years later, in 1891. He soon came into contact with the company's owner, Thomas Edison, and the two initially hit it off. Tesla described Edison as an inspiring figure. Edison told Tesla, "I've had many hard-working assistants, but you won't turn down the pie." This mutual admiration did not last long, but a lifelong rivalry soon became a major source of inspiration. The feud between the two arose from disagreements over which type of current each preferred. Edison's company held patents for direct current, a system in which electrical charge flows in only one direction. However, Tesla was a proponent of alternating current, a system in which electrical charge periodically reverses direction, allowing alternating current to maintain power over long distances. It is also possible to use devices called transformers to change the magnitude of alternating voltage, allowing current to travel over long distances. High voltage, and then it can be stepped down to a lower voltage for safe use in homes. Tesla tried to explain the benefits of alternating current to Edison. But Edison offered Tesla a large bonus of $50,000 if he would remake 24 of his outdated machines, after which Edison refused to pay and claimed that the task was a prank, saying, "Tesla, you don't understand our intentions." American humor. Tesla quit after 6 months with the company and went on his own. He wanted to change the world, and he knew he could. Alternating current, however, his investors were not very interested and decided to buy the company, including all the patents he had created. he was left to dig ditches in the streets to survive. However, Tesla's fortune soon changed as his ideas for an alternating current motor attracted the attention of a new investor who helped found the Tesla Electric Company in 1887. He then designed a motor that was much cheaper and easier to maintain than those running on direct current. The following year, the exhibition caught the attention of a businessman named George Westinghouse. Westinghouse was a major player in the electrical market and needed Tesla's motor to complete its alternating current system, which was intended to compete with Thomas Edison's. Westinghouse bought the motor and hired Tesla as a consultant for £50. At $5,000 a month, along with royalties per inch of horsepower produced by his motors, Tesla was doing well. Edison went to extreme lengths to discredit Tesla's AC system. He began paying schoolchildren 25 cents to bring him pets, where he would set up a public stage and electrocute the animals in an attempt to show the public that Tesla's AC system was unsafe. After eventually being publicly executed, Edison continued to execute animals for many years after the War of the Currents ended, and in 1903, the Edison Film Company released a short film called War of the Currents. The film showed Topsy, a former circus elephant, being electrocuted when 6,600 volts passed through her body. Despite the negative press created by Edison Tesla, Westinghouse continued to develop its alternating current system. The opportunity arose to show that alternating current was safe and suitable for large-scale use. At the World's Columbian Exposition, held in Chicago in 1893, Edison bid too low for the exhibition, but Westinghouse beat him to the competition contract, and with it, the chance to outshine Edison, even as Westinghouse and Tesla competed to provide lighting at a low cost. They succeeded in demonstrating to the world the power of alternating current. Their success continued when Westinghouse Electric was chosen over Edison's General Electric to build a hydroelectric dam at Niagara Falls, the power plant projects that were a huge success, eventually leading to alternating current continuing to grow in popularity in parts of New York City and becoming the system we all use. While Westinghouse won the current war, his company was on the verge of bankruptcy with a debt of $10 million. He turned to Tesla for help, asking him to temporarily reduce his fees to help him keep his company afloat. Out of compassion for his friend, Tesla, instead of reducing his fees, tore up the contract, cancelling them entirely. The amount he gave away would be $300 million in today's money. But it was from little concern to Tesla, who was more interested in science than financial gain. This act saved Westinghouse, who in 1897 bought Tesla's patent for alternating current for $216,000, equivalent to about $6 million today, which Tesla used to build new laboratories in New York and other cities. By devoting himself entirely to invention, Tesla became an international figure, his laboratories often visited by the rich and powerful, including his close friend and the father of the American literature, Mark Twain. Tesla's inventions were numerous. He had a machine for which he received almost 300 patents during his career. He created an early version of neon light in a highly efficient bladeless turbine for cars and was a pioneer in X-ray technology. He was one of the first to warn about the dangers of it to humans. Famous inventions were his famous Tesla coil, a device capable of generating large amounts of high-voltage electricity. A remarkable invention was the remote-controlled boat, unveiled at Madison Square Garden in 1898. It was such an amazing advancement in wireless technology, and so ahead of its time, that spectators initially thought he was using magic or telepathy to make the boat move. There were even claims that there was a monkey hidden inside the boat that had been trained to operate it. Always thinking about the next invention rather than how to sell what he had already made, many of his ideas continued to be implemented, and those that were written down often came to fruition. Without a legal patent, this method of operation caused Tesla serious problems. When he began working on radio in the late 19th century, he came up with the idea for radio in 1892 and was soon ready to transmit a signal to a location 50 miles away. But disaster struck. His work was destroyed in a laboratory fire. In 1895, Tesla did not apply for a patent and did so only after 2 years of rebuilding his research. At the same time, An Italian inventor named Marconi was also working on radio, seeking patent rights in England. But when he tried to acquire them in the United States, he was turned down because his ideas were considered too similar to Tesla's. Unfortunately for Tesla, Marconi was able to send the world's first transatlantic radio message in 1901 using 17 of Tesla's patents, which Thomas Edison was then using due to his financial weight backing Marconi in the United States. The patent office suddenly changed its mind about its previous decisions. Marconi now had the rights in the United States, and Edison could get a share of the profits. But Tesla didn't pay attention to it at first. But the final straw was when Marconi won the Nobel Prize in 1911 for developing radio, which was only possible thanks to Tesla's uncredited work. Tesla tried to sue Marconi, but the cases dragged on for years and were only decided in Tesla's favor 8 months after his death. At the turn of the 20th century, he set out to create a worldwide wireless system that would be able to transmit power anywhere in the world. Tesla received funding for this project in 1901 and soon purchased land on Long Island. On New York Island, where he planned to construct his device within the next year, he built a huge wooden tower 187 feet high with a metal dome 68 feet in diameter. He called it the Wardenclyffe Tower, and he believed that it would radically improve wireless technology with what he called communication devices, the likes of which would not be seen for a long time. In another century, a telephone subscriber here could call and talk to anyone else on the globe, and an inexpensive receiver no bigger than a watch would allow him to listen anywhere, on land or at sea, to spoken word or music performed at some other place, however remote. In the same way, any picture, character, drawing or engraving could be transferred from one place to another, from which millions of such instruments could be controlled. But one installation of this kind, the tower, had other uses, including universal and accurate timekeeping, the global distribution of music, and a nautical system that would enable ships to determine their exact position and navigate flawlessly without the use of a compass. Despite its amazing ideas, Tesla soon suffered a series of setbacks. Marconi's 1901 radio broadcast diverted attention from the Wardenclyffe Tower, and the media began to treat the project as a hoax. The investors Tesla had managed to gather soon realized that there was no way to regulate and therefore profit from the energy generated by the tower, to retreat, leaving Tesla, now in his 50s, in a state of financial ruin. Tesla struggled for over a decade, trying in vain to bring his plans to fruition, then suffered a nervous breakdown, and his debts reached such a level that in 1915 he lost Wardenclyffe to foreclosure, and the land soon changed hands, who demolished the tower to make way for the property. Tesla was bankrupt, and his mental health began to deteriorate markedly. Caring for them, he ended up in the New Yorker hotel in his late 70s, where he was to live for the rest of his life, thanks in large part to Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company that saw the terrible conditions he was in and decided to pay his rent to thank him for saving them years ago. Tesla lived to be 86 years old, dying in his hotel room on January 7, 1943. Nikola Tesla was a man ahead of his time with his achievements. With his influence on everything from X-rays to remote control, his wireless world wireless system was able to advance technology by almost a century, as well as provide. Unlike many of his era, Tesla worked not for financial gain, but for the advancement of humanity. Perhaps it is not surprising that a man so far ahead of his time has found his place only in the 21st century, a century shaped by his technological brilliance.